Hello everyone. Today I would like to present my thesis topic on the assessment of urban fire vulnerability through hazard zonation mapping, case of Thrissur city, Kerala. As we all know, fire is one of the elements which has shaped the human life. At the same time, it is also one of the catastrophic elements which has led to the destruction of so many cities in the past, which in turn actually helped in developing more planned cities which is resilient to these kind of disasters. So in the past centuries, the urban fire hazard happened because of the use of inflammable materials and the deliberate ones like boards. But currently it is happening because of the rapid urban development, and we need to assess these kind of developments to identify the vulnerability of an area to the urban fire hazard. So we can introduce fire safety regulations in various levels. So the urban fire hazard zonation mapping will be a very important tool for these baseline assessments. For that, I have analyzed the existing standards which tell about the strategies or the techniques that can be adapted for the development of these kind of zonation maps. So I have analyzed the standards in national and state levels. So in the national level, they have defined the role of state governments for the development of these kind of vulnerability maps and areas. So in SDMA, they have categorized urban fire as one of the man-made disaster, but they haven't given uh, any kind of ideas about how to develop an urban fire hazard zonation map or how to develop a technique to identify the vulnerability of an area to urban fire hazard. So in NDRF, that is National Disaster Response Force, they have introduced a methodology for identifying the hazard and risk analysis for the country, but they have only limited to the development of fire services in the country. So we need more parameters and tools to develop these kind of zonation maps. For that, the literature review and expert opinion interviews were conducted to identify which is the most important parameter and the most important techniques that can be deployed in our study. So the parameters were identified were physical, environmental, social, infrastructure, and extra a unique parameters were identified, which is cultural, which is very unique to the context of Kerala because of its customs, rituals, and festivals. So the aim of the study will be the assessing of urban fire vulnerability by the preparation of the hazard zonation map, and the objectives will include four objectives, which the first one will be the refinement of criteria for identifying the tools and methods, and then it is followed by the spatial temporal maps and analysis of the previous fire incidents, and then by that analysis the urban fire hazard zonation map will be generated, and finally the vulnerability will be assessed and arriving at the recommendations will be deployed. And the study will be only focused on the context of Kerala, and only human-induced fire accidents will be taken. The limitations include only the past 5-year data is collected for the study because of the unavailability of incident recording system that is in the soft copy, and the fire incidents due to transport is not included. So coming to the methodology, before deploying the methodology, I have gone through a vigorous literature study for the existing methodologies that has helped in developing these kind of zonation maps. So the literature review was conducted and detailed study of the selected methodologies were conducted to deploy these methods in my own methodology. So the four objectives that I have explained earlier will be covered in this methodology, which will be starting from the literature study, then data collection and analysis, then the mapping of the parameters, then vulnerability identification and proposal. So the methodology is again detailed out to achieve the four objectives. So here I have detailed out what kind of methods is deployed to analyze the data and get the inference, and finally coming up with the result. So coming to the site, I have selected Thrissur city for implementing the methodology, and it is also known as the cultural capital of Kerala because of its culture and heritage, where culture is one of the important parameters that we have selected for the study. And here we can see this is the Thrissur district, and this is the Thrissur city, which is placed most centrally in the Thrissur district itself, and the Thrissur city has 55 wards. So the analysis and the zonation map will be done in the according to the ward division. And the first target was to identify the fire incidents that has happened in the last 5 years. So this is in the Thrissur city, the fire station is centered in the center of the city itself, and this red dot represents the fire incident that has happened in the last 5 years. So this red dot represents the fire incidents, and there were 1,188 cases in the last 5 years. So I have also analyzed how it changed over the time. So we can see here in 1890, the 1819 and 1920, it was about 250 cases, and during the year of 2021, because of the COVID era, it has dropped drastically, and after the COVID era, that is of the year 2022-23, it has increased very fast. So one of my assumptions were right, because of the human activities, the fire incidents has increased, and in the COVID era, because of human activities were less, the fire incidents has decreased. So the next step was to conduct the fire intensity analysis. So how frequently the fire is happening in most wards. So the kernel density analysis were deployed in most the all 5 years, and I have also developed the integrated map of the all 5 years kernel density analysis. So from this analysis, we can see that the most fire incidents, the most frequencies happen in the ward 35 and 39, and also the ward 1. So next analysis was done for the spatial distribution of monthly fire incidents, that is conducted also in ward wise. So this is the analysis of January and February months, and where the fire has seen the highest values, highest incidents. And from moving to March, April, May, June, we can see the fire incidence has decreased throughout these months, and from November itself it has again increased. So the most of the cases happened in the last 5 years. It was during the month of January to March, and the less cases happened due to June, July, and August. So while I analyzed the climatic data, I was able to find that during the rainfall season, the cases were less, and during the summertime, the high temperature time, the cases were very. So the next kind of analysis were done according to the type of fire incidents. So here I have analyzed the bush fire incidents, waste fire distribution, residential, commercial, industrial, public land use, paddy field, and vehicular fire distribution. So here we can see the bush fire and waste fire were the higher, which is compared to the build type of fire, that is residential, industrial, and public buildings. So the bush fire and waste fire were higher in the month of January to March. The next analysis were the temporal fire distribution throughout the day. So we can see that when we compare the fire incidents hourly, we can see that from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. the fire incidents were higher, and from the 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. the fire incidents were higher. So next, the intention was to develop the fire hazard zonation map by the identified parameters, that is land use, fire incidents, population density, and religious activities. So before coming to the land use, the prioritization of land use according to the fire frequency were developed. So for that, the land use plan is overlaid with the fire incidents, overlaid and intersected. So from that, we were able to see how the fire incident frequency is happening. That is, the most priority is given to residential, then agriculture, followed by commercial, public, vacant land, and industrial. So accordingly, the concentration index of the land use and the fire frequency index were developed to identify the fire incidents that is happening according to the land uses and the human activities there. So residential, agriculture, commercial, public, semi-public, vacant land, and industrial land use were analyzed. Finally, the weightage were integrated, and the final ward-wise weight distribution of the land use were developed, which is associated with the fire frequency. And then the fire incident map, the population density, and the religious activities were developed. And by the expert survey, these 4 domains are given different weightage by the help of entropy method, and final weightage distribution is identified. So the fire incidents were got the highest weightage, followed by land use, population density, and cultural activities. And then the weighted addition method were done to identify the zones that is more probable to fire. So here we can see that the zones are divided to 5. Here is the final map that has developed. This is the red zone, followed by the orange zone, then yellow zone, green zone 1, and green zone 2. So the red zone, which is identified as the most hotspot area, which is more vulnerable to fire activities. So it is characterized by commercial, religious, and different kind of use. Higher level of cultural and social activities is happening in the red zone, and in the orange zone also having this kind of activities, but not as much as the red zone. And the yellow zone is actually characterized by public land use, industrial land use, etc. And then the green zone 1 is characterized by the agricultural land use mostly, and the green zone 2 is also characterized by the agricultural land. But in the green zone 1, the residential land is also same in some areas. So coming to the proposals, the best practices were identified in national and state level. Then the recommendations were given in spatial and non-spatial manner. Then the zone level proposals were developed by the help of micro level analysis, and then general recommendations are also defined here. So the recommendations, the focus area of the recommendations will be fire prevention, fire safety planning, societal capacity and fire safety legislation. And the fire prevention will be given more important because it will be more focused on the mitigation of fire incidents. So the red zone will be analyzed in the more detailed manner. So the red zone of the city is in the center of the city itself, and the core build density of the area is also studied. So the figure ground map of the Ward 35 is developed here, and here we can see the counter density analysis that I have done to analyze the build level density. So the darker areas represents the high density areas and the lighter areas represents the lower density areas. So this higher density areas is characterized by the commercial buildings, the congested lanes and more traffic, and the lighter density areas are characterized by the presence of market areas and public land use. And here we can see the build use and land use map of the water. So here the 5 frequent incident spots were identified and analyzed to arrive at the recommendations. So the 6 major spots were identified 35, that is our hotspot area. The first being Thesis Maidan, then the commercial areas, Shaktan Market, Ikandawala Road and Shaktan Nagar. So the vacant land should be inspected in the month of December to March. The mechanical and electrical workshop should be provided with proper firefighting mechanisms, and regulations should be implemented, which is mostly seen in the Shaktan Nagar. And the tree bush waste fires are high in Thesis Maidan during the month of December and March, which should be inspected frequently. And the mid-level audit should be conducted in the higher density cores, that is the commercial areas. So next, the micro level analysis conducted for the service road, which is less than 4 meter wide, and we can see that the fire prevention will be very difficult in these kind of areas. So the introduction of fire hydrants should be considered, which can be the schematic diagram is given here. So it can be provided within a distance of 100 meter. So the roads in high densities are only considered here. The next micro level analysis will be done for the major festivals and activities happening in the area. So this buffer is given to deploy the crisis management plan and the inspections. So the emergency operation centers will also be implemented there during the festival times. So next is the major active sports in the ward, that is Swaraj Round and Shakti Market. In Swaraj Round, know that famous Puram, and while developing the risk informed master planning, the Thrissur Puram management plan will be one important module, and then the Shaktan Market is very characterized by the market activities. There is a best stand is there, and cultural and public activities are there. So the site should be inspected accordingly, and provision of early warning systems like smoke and optical detection system should be deployed. And next, we'll be analyzing the heritage core of the Thrissur city. So in the heritage core, the recommendations that is deployed is the heritage action plan. The active use, urban and build level semi-annual inspections, fire resistant landscaping, the boundary system, non-smoking policies should be given to the heritage core. The heritage core is identified as the orange zone and the red zone in the Thrissur city. So the proposed components for the general recommendations is the fire prevention, regulatory capacity, societal capacity, safety planning and infrastructure capacity. So the zonal level recommendations have been given according to the fire prevention capacity in 4 areas, that is inspection, early warning systems and incident recording system. So in the red zone, the periodic inspection should be conducted, and the fire detection system should be deployed. Fire hydrants should be deployed in denser areas, and a digital recording system should be deployed for the active incident recording system, which is integrated by the GPS. So this is similar. Also, the non-smoking policies also should be developed. So what is an exceptional case which is away from the core of the city, which includes a high concentration of unused paddy fields along with other land uses. So that kind of industry in the paddy fields prior to the summer time. And then the yellow zone, which is characterized by high concentration of residential land use. So Viyur and here is Viyur and this is the Ollur areas. So there is the public land use and industrial land use is happening. So for that, the focus should be given for the industrial areas, especially for wood companies and workshops. Seasonal bushfire precautions should be taken. Early warning system should be deployed. So the prevention mechanisms should be developed according to the occupancy of the building, and GPS should be deployed. So the next is green zone 1, which is characterized by the presence of mix of residential and agricultural land use. The remaining land uses are negotiable compared to the previous ones. So here the major focus will be given for the bushfire precautions, and paddy fields should be inspected after the harvesting period. So the early warning system of the bushfires should be deployed using the help of artificial intelligence, and the critical fire predictions should be developed using the weather data, topography and ground fuel data. Fire resistance landscape can be introduced. So this is applicable for the green zone 2, where the alternate use of paddy field residue should be considered. So to conclude, the provision of a base level assessment system is very important as recommended by the global organizations for the prevention of urban fire hazard, and the urban fire hazard zonation map will act as the foundation for the further study and analysis to develop the strategies and policies which will help in preventing the fire hazards. So the important development of the study will be the fire risk informed master plan, which can be integrated with the master plan 2039 of Thrissur city. So in the fire risk informed action plan, there will be various modules, and for each event that is happening in the city, there will be modules which is dedicated for the activities. So the Thrissur Pura fire management plan will be one of the important module in the fire risk informed master plan because of its intensity. And to way forward, the development of spatial decision support system for early warning systems and fire mitigation can be developed by the development of this study, and the emergency response and evacuation plan for each zones by the further micro level analysis can be deployed, and the preparation of heritage action plan in the core area will be another module of the fire risk informed master plan. So there will be various modules, but this will be the major unique modules that can be implemented in the Thrissur city itself. So this methodology can be adapted for the other cities in Kerala according to the development of the different spatial analysis according to the city character. So this will be the conclusion of my study, and thank you for listening to this. And this is the bibliography that has developed. So thank you.